Hey, welcome to another episode of Unscripted Exchanges. I'm your co-host, Cole.
Dude, you're stealing my thunder. I haven't been able to open over
Right
the
out from
past
under you.
couple of episodes.
Because I was excited. I was so excited.
I'm Hayden, and we're excited to have you guys tuning in for another episode.
Oh, we really are.
Yes.
And I'm excited to be back in the studio.
Welcome back, buddy.
Yeah, let's go.
Where you been?
Out and about, man. I've been finding myself.
Hey, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
I've been on a journey to find myself.
If you guys feel like we're a little bit more energetic than usual, it's because we both consumed a whole bunch of caffeine before coming on the show tonight.
Yes, we did.
And Cole, as I've said time and time again, just is naturally energetic. So I feel like him drinking energy drink on top of just his natural personality or energy is just like...
I feel like Matthew McConaughey in that, like the Wolf of Wall Street, he's like, boom, 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 boom.
Is your heart beating a little bit quicker than normal?
I mean, it's a little fast, but I like it to ride that fine line between like having a panic attack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
no,
speaking
honestly, God.
Oh.
No, you take the floor. You take it.
Well, I was going to get a little deep for a second again. I was like, speaking of panic attacks, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we're big about talking about our mental health here at UE.
Well, I think mental health. So it's like a voodoo topic, right? I mean, people want to talk about it, but they don't want to talk about it. And they want to share.
When you say voodoo, I think you meant taboo, right?
Voodoo taboo. Taboo.
Hey, it's that energy.
Voodoo.
You're like, what? I don't know. I make up words all the time too.
We're not like the Salem witches. Like we're doing like voodoo. No, I meant taboo. I feel like a lot of people want to talk about it, but there's a small amount of people that will talk about it and then also like be vulnerable about their own battles with it. Like a lot of people want to promote that.
Yeah.
So I feel like we've been kind of vulnerable on here about it.
I would agree. I mean, it definitely takes a lot to share some of that stuff because we all battle our own demons. I mean, I don't think there's a person out there that doesn't deal with some type of issue at any point in their life. Maybe they haven't up to this point, which is awesome. But there's going to be times in people's lives where, they might experience some emotions that they don't want to deal with or have. And again, we're human beings. We're emotional creatures, and there's going to be times where things don't go your way, or things out of your control kind of happen, and it's like, how do you respond? And sometimes your body naturally responds the way that it does, and learning that's all right, and like learning how to manage or cope with those feelings, is extremely important. And I know, Cole, you and I have talked about this offline, but I think more and more kids and even adults need to learn best practices. And, you and I aren't up here just trying to tell you what we believe is true because we're still learning ourselves. But it's super important to share, what's on your mind because it does help, especially if you're struggling with certain feelings or something that's going on in your life. And it's best to talk about it. I know it's tough at times.
Well, it's one of those things. Like I even had this other. It was who was I was talking to somebody, I don't know, like a week ago, and we were talking about stress, and we were talking about like different things going on and communicating and how do you communicate when you're stressed out. And one of the things like that came out of it was we got into like when you let things boil up because you don't communicate, and then all of a sudden they like explode out of you. Like so it all builds up, right? All this pressure, whether it's from like financial pressure, family pressure, professional pressure, work pressure, all these different things, and they all like pile up, and then a lot of the times, at least what used to happen to me, which I'm getting a little better at, but what used to happen to me is I would like not acknowledge that stuff was stressful or hard to deal with. Like you've seen me be you called me ruthless optimist the other day. I think and you've seen me be that, right? But I've had to learn how to balance that ruthless optimism with realism, that it's okay when things are tough, acknowledge that they're tough, and then move forward. But I used to be that person that would go through 2-3 weeks of not letting one thing be hard, not letting one thing be tough. And then I get to like that third week, whatever. It was like almost like this cycle, and something would make me snap. And I would feel like I wouldn't have an anxiety attack. I guess I've had like one of those ever. But I would have this moment of like, I felt like I was so pent up and I just wanted to like run through a wall and punch a wall or run 10 miles and scream at the top of my lungs. I felt like everything was caving in around me. And again, not an anxiety attack. My chest was not pounding, but this feeling of like just so overwhelmed and needing to let it out somehow. And that used to happen to me pretty frequently. So it was just an interesting conversation because we talked about, you know, I cannot remember. I just remember this conversation so clearly. It was like, rather than not acknowledging things are stressing you out or like pushing them off, it's just like owning that things can be tough sometimes and like telling yourself like it's okay, it's tough. But like acknowledge that it's tough. Acknowledge that you're going through it. You know, going through that shit, as they say, getting through that, muddling through it. Acknowledge that you're going through it, and that's helped me so much because I acknowledge when I'm going through stuff, and when I tell myself that's okay, then I can look at like, okay, how do I deal with it now versus waiting till later and I have an explosion? Because I'm telling you, like, it would boil itself to the surface, and it was like I thought my head was going to pop off out of nowhere. It's because of that.
Yeah, you reached your boiling point, your breaking point. We all have one, and I appreciate you being vulnerable there. I think it's amazing that our minds are able to either put us into a positive mindset or a negative mindset, and it can happen just like that, which is wild, you know? And I've dealt with my own experiences of things that are floating around in my mind, and right or wrong, or not right or wrong, but the way that I describe it is we all have thoughts, and sometimes the thoughts that we have are thoughts that, you know, are just completely irrational or things that are never going to happen. But, you know, your brain doesn't always know how to process what's reality or not. I don't know, the way that I'm describing this makes a lot of sense, and I don't want to scare anyone. But again, we've all had like goofy thoughts, and it's like, where the heck did that come from? And the thing that I've learned is like, you have to be all right with accepting that it's just a thought. Where it starts to cross the line or become a problem is if it impacts how you choose to act or live your life in the physical world. Because it's all right. Like, we literally can't control our thoughts. Like, our brains are constantly running. And if we can't control our thoughts, or someone knows how to control their thoughts, please reach out to me, because I would love to learn how to do that. I've tried.
Put me on that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But, I think it's all right to recognize that, you know, we have just a million different thoughts that come to our mind every day, and maybe not a million. I think the number is like 60,000 or something like that? Have you heard that stat?
Well, it's a lot. I mean, yeah, I haven't.
60,000 thoughts
like
a day.
Thoughts.
Yeah, throughout like crazy. A 24-hour period. Like that's remarkable. And again, a small percentage of those could be, you know, goofy thoughts, silly thoughts, whatever. And they're just thoughts. I know I keep using the word thoughts.
It's okay. I went through a stretch where I used that so much. So
yeah, but I think the other thing that I heard you sharing there, and I can relate, and I think this is more times a guy thing than a girl thing, is suppressing your feelings. I think I'm actually really good at doing that, but it's not a good thing to do. And it's like, how do I get better at sharing what's on my mind with certain people, like close, trusted friends and family, instead of, as you were mentioning, letting things reach their boiling point, because we all know that never really ends well. How do we prevent that? And I think it starts with just having those open and honest conversations with friends and family at times. And I think there's other tactics out there as well. Another thing that I've done over the past couple of years is, I'm not going to say meditating, because I don't do that all too often. I do that every now and then, but I do journal. pretty frequently, and just writing down my thoughts, and especially with thoughts that I've like wrestled with or argued with in my mind. Like the moment you start to write those down on paper, like it starts to break those apart. It's like, well, why the heck was I even worrying about this? Like when you put it on paper, you read it out loud. It's like, that's silly. It's just a thought. So again, that's a coping mechanism for me if I'm ever dealing with just stressful situations. Again, there's numerous different strategies out there. I know we shared some stuff earlier this week in terms of like how you can get into that mental headspace, the right headspace. And sometimes it really starts with just acknowledging, how you're feeling and recognizing it's temporary.
You got to own it. And I was going to add to that, I think for me, my whole life, it's always been about, I've got this corner of people that I feel comfortable with venting to. And I want to use that word venting very, very clearly. Venting is not complaining.
It's healthy.
Venting is healthy. Venting is letting go, getting it out of your system, and getting rid of I look at it as a way of like purging. Like instead of letting all these negative thoughts or irritations and stuff boil up, you're saying, get out. I need to get it out, and I need to purge it. And sometimes a workout or a book or a meditation is not going to do the trick.
Sure.
Sometimes the best way to purge is to go to somebody that you trust, that you love, that you care about, that you know cares about you, or somebody that doesn't really give a shit, but they'll listen. I mean, sometimes you just got to get it out.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big difference between venting and complaining. Venting to me is a form of therapy because you're getting out your feelings. It's just like journaling. You could vent in your journal even. I mean, that's a form of it. But I think one thing that's helped me is the venting aspect of it. And I've had to convince myself also that that's okay. Because I remember I used to let it boil up.
Yep.
And I've had to convince myself, and you've probably heard me say this, like, I'm not trying, I'm sorry for being negative, or I'm not trying to be negative. And you're like, dude, it's okay. Like, it's because I've had to convince myself that it's okay to vent, and that doesn't make me a negative person.
No, not at all.
Because I used to struggle with that. I used to like, nothing's going to let me be negative. I'm not going to be negative about anything. I'm not going to complain. And that'll beat you down if you never let that stuff out. And I think it correlates to, for me, to my professional career, like to my business, for this and for, my job and for, my aspirations financially and stuff like that. I feel like it's almost like this, you get on the surfboard and you're riding the wave and you're going to go up and down, you're going to move. But as long as you stay on the surfboard and do what you need to do to keep yourself balanced, like you're going to stay on it. I wanted to throw a different analogy out there.
I love that analogy.
Well, because I think by doing all these right things, it's going to keep me balanced. And so that gets into like a whole thing I've dealt with the past few weeks. It's been really stressful for me. I'm being vulnerable here, very stressful. I've never been like that person that says, oh, this is my routine. So, you see like, you probably see this like the celebrity routines, right? Like Mark Wahlberg, he does this, it's got like 5 o'clock, wake up and work out, 5:30, say a prayer, 6 o'clock, I've never been that person. But I've had things.
And by the way, sorry to jump in. Some of that is marketing. I don't fully believe. There's no way Mark Wahlberg or whomever is waking up every single day of their life at that time doing X, Y, and Z.
Right. There's too many variables in life. Too.
Yeah.
There's too many things going on. So my routine. So I've never like really bought into that because I know it's a lot of nuance and a lot of marketing and one person thought he did this, and this, and this. But what I have bought into is a routine of like, okay, you get up, have breakfast, do this, and your days, and you get into that rhythm of like each day flowing into the next one, and you've got you got your time to work, you got your time to exercise, you got the time to eat, time with the kids and wife. So I was in a pretty good rhythm for the past 2.5, 3 months of not, and there's always variables. There's like I got to pick up Ava from school earlier. I got to go. Amanda's got work that I forgot about her working. I got to do this. Those are variables that flow in, but I felt like I was consistently doing some of the similar things, working out, eating at similar times, getting up at around the same time, all these things. And then the past 2.5 weeks, I had to go out of town for a week and a half. Then I had to go somewhere else. So like my whole thing got thrown off. And for me, I've felt myself feeling a lot more scatterbrained. I think I even talked about this in our last episode, or maybe the one before, where I felt like I'm riding on a unicycle juggling balls. And that's because my routine's been thrown off. And so for me, one of the things I can say is, something I want to work on and something to like pay attention to is like, how do I get back? How do I deal with it when I'm not in routine, when I'm outside of the norm? Like, what can I do to, what is it making sure at least I'm getting one of those things, right? Whether I'm working out every day or something like that, or making sure I don't know what it is, but I know lately for me, not being in a routine has been really, really challenging.
Yeah. To piggyback onto that, I would agree. It's tough when you get out of that rhythm or that routine that you're so used to. I think a lot of us are just maybe afraid of breaking that routine because we're used to it. It feels safe. We're comfortable with it. And sometimes it's all right to break that routine. Mm-hmm. And as you were mentioning though, like how do you ease back in or get back to like what you're used to? I think it's definitely something that takes some time, and it's an art as well. Recognizing like what is near and dear to your heart, or in terms of like how you want to go about your day. So with you, I know you were traveling. Your sleep schedule was probably thrown off a little bit, working longer hours. You might have not been able to work out as consistently as you wanted to. And that's all right to take those breaks from time to time. And kind of my thinking is, one, recognizing that, hey, whatever I'm going through right now, no matter what I'm feeling, it's temporary. Mm-hmm. No matter how great it is, too. Life is temporary, right? Nothing's promised at the end of the day. And not to get too deep, but to get deep, like something that I have benefited from greatly, again, over the past few years, and I continually try to work on this. I'm not perfect, and I don't do it every day, but I try to, is just, and we've talked about it before, Cole, the power of gratitude, man. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, the moment that I wake up, I try to think of something that I'm thankful for. I mean, that just puts me in a good headspace right away, or at least it's an attempt to do so, because there are so many people that unfortunately don't get the opportunity to wake up, and mm-hmm. I'm thankful that I get to, and I'm also thankful that I get to walk on my own. Like there's some people that are, bedridden. And I'm not trying to get into, well, look what I have, look what they don't have. But again, try to find gratitude in your life. And if you can do that at the beginning and the end of your day, I think it's a ripple effect in terms of like how much better you can live your life and also help others as well. So that's something that I've been pretty consistent on and very thankful for, understanding the power of being grateful for, what I've been blessed with. And I thank God. I mean, I could lose it all in a moment. And that's why, again, I recognize that things are temporary and kind of just to go with the flow as much as I can. And just recognize that there's going to be highs and lows in life too, especially on some of those days that aren't quite going the way that I want it to go. And that's all right. That's what makes those bad days, those good days even a little bit more sweeter. I know some of that's cliche, but again, just the power of gratitude is so powerful.
Well, I would say, I'm going to hit on something that I think we were going to, I don't want to get too deep into it, but the gratitude strikes a chord with me. Mm-hmm. And I just want to say my heart is so heavy for everybody and people that have watched any news recently or heard anything have heard about what happened. I think Uvalde, Texas, those children and those teachers that were massacred, that were killed. And that sort of thing rips my heart out, and I'm not going to sit here, Hayden, and even like try to get into the discussion of what could have happened differently or what could have gone better, because I think there's a time and place for that. Mm-hmm. But I also think there's a time and place to just grieve mm-hmm. and to pray and to just take your loved ones and hold them close mm-hmm. and have gratitude for what I do have. Yep. Because that hit me hard as a parent of an 8-year-old that's in elementary school, right? That I can't even, like, it gives me chills. I mean, I can't as a parent even fathom that. So I don't want to get like into the weeds about what could have done better or worse, because again, I think there's a time and place for that. I think there's discussions and things that need to happen, but this isn't the time for that right now. My heart is just super heavy, and I'm super grateful that I get to go home to my two daughters. I get to be here with you, and I get to have my daughters in the safety of my home, because you really never know.
Yeah, I think, well, first off, yeah, prayers to all those that have been affected by what took place earlier this week. I know a lot of people are feeling a certain way, and I know it's been heavy on your heart and mind as well with your kids and such. And as you said, right now, I think is not the right time to fully process everything there. But again, just hug your loved ones and just thank God for the opportunity to continue to live on Earth and make an impact. And that's why you and I are doing what we do here. We're trying to make a huge impact and
trying to help people.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if you were to simplify, what the hell are you guys trying to do?
That's it.
And we ask ourselves that question all the time too, but we're trying to make an impact in people's lives, and we're not perfect because we're freaking human beings. And I think that's why a lot of people resonate with us, especially some of our first listeners or followers that know us a little bit more than the average person. Like, we're Cole and Hayden from Cincinnati. We're two authentic guys, and we do what we do. And again, we're just trying to make a difference any way that we can and have honest and open conversation. We're not going to always get it right. We might have some hot takes or some poor takes, whatever you want to refer to that as, and we'll do our best to just try to be ourselves. But at the end of the day, if we're not living a life full of purpose or meaning and trying to help impact and move the needle for other people in a better way, then, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this?
Well, and it's like, see, that stuff gets me jacked up when you say stuff like
Speaking
that.
of that, you're looking a little bit swole, man.
Yoked. No, like we do talk about this. We're always going to talk about it, but how can we move people to move themselves? Like, that's our goal.
Yeah.
We have our business meetings and our little back and forth, and like that stuff, that's all strategy and this and that. But then it's like, if you were to put a Venn diagram and say, or not a Venn, but like a big circle and have all these little like webs off of it and say, what's in the middle? And it's just value, right? It's impact. It's changing people's lives and giving people something to lean back on, to listen to make their day a little bit better, and motivate people. I mean, we're not perfect, but hopefully you find us, you guys that are listening, find us motivational. Sometimes I find myself motivational. I'll pat myself on the back. Sometimes I'm like, man, Cole, good job. And sometimes I'm like, man, you're really slacking off. You need to pick it up. But I'm hoping a little bit of that rubs off on anybody that's listening, that, at the end of the day, we're two people just like everybody else that's chasing after a dream and trying to motivate and instill some good ideas, some practices, some anything you can get out of it, to make your lives better. So again, we're just grateful to be on here and to have the listeners that we do have and the viewers we do have, that give us the opportunity to share this. And another thing I wanted to add about routine, I'm totally flipping the script on you, but I was thinking about this earlier, is we were talking about like how valuable, for me, this routine. And I kind of look, and I didn't get to share this part because we kind of went back and forth, but I did this today and it was very, very, very helpful, because I'm like, I was like super uptight or like off the past few days, being out of my routine, for the past week and a half, then trying to get back to the house, back into it. And I was like, well, what does Cole need? Like, what do I need to function at a high level? Like, what is good for me, and what have I been doing that's not good for me? And I'm like, okay. So I've been watching maybe a little bit too much TV at night, which is, I watch in the night usually with TV, but maybe I've watched a little too much TV. I'm not focusing on, exactly, what I'm eating. I'm not eating super healthy. I'm kind of eating what I can get. I haven't worked out as much as I could this week. So I was looking at all that, like the things I haven't done. I'm like, okay, so I need to put healthy food in my body. I need to learn, not consume. I need to learn. So I mean, if I'm consuming something, it needs to be something that's engaging my brain, making my wheels turn. I need to pray. That's huge for me. And I need family time. So I started looking like, okay, if I can get these things, then I can work those types of things into my routine in whatever setting it's at. So instead of looking at my routine as so much a place or a taskless item, it's more of like okay, what do I need to be a high functioning or feel like I'm in that state of flow? I need to eat healthy food, which I can do anywhere. I need to pray, which I can do anywhere. I need to learn. I need to get my brain active, which I can do anywhere.
Yep.
And I need to exercise, which I can do in any facet. And now I'm like, I totally flipped my script because now I'm not like, now I can go on vacation and still do that stuff. I can carry that stuff with me. I can go on a work trip and still get some of that stuff in. And now it's not so much. Now I feel like I've got a good plan for when I change from these different things. These are things that I can take with me that aren't physical things I need to put in a bag. But now if I can rely on those core things that make Cole feel good, then no matter what setting or how my day is going, I'm in a state of flow, which is what I want to be in. When I'm in a state of flow, I feel like everything's functioning, and I want to be in that state more.
Yeah, one thing I love hearing all that. By the way, I'm trying to gain my thought process back here, but something that I recently saw is the person that you were 5 minutes ago doesn't need to be the person that you are now, which is very deep to me. Meaning all it takes is, again, the right mindset or attitude and recognizing, again, it goes back to how am I feeling? And if you're not feeling the way that you want to feel, okay, you have the choice to do certain things or take certain actions to help, better your life. So I wanted to share that recent thing that I came across. And then the other thing that I heard you say, and I wrestle with it myself too, and it has to do with, critiquing, what am I doing with my time here? Like, I'm watching too much YouTube or TV at night. And what I want to say is like, it's all right to take a break. Sometimes we're too tough on ourselves. We put too much pressure. Not to take my words, like, oh, it's all right to constantly slack off. No, that's not what I'm saying. But every now and then we do need a break, and recognizing that. And it's not an easy thing to do. Don't get me wrong there. But again, it's all right. Don't beat yourself up, which goes back to something else that someone told me a couple of years ago that I've continued to try to think about. Like, we can be our biggest friend or our biggest enemy. And like, if you're constantly having that negative self-talk, and again, this goes back to the whole mental health conversation, like, one, that's not good for you. And two, think of it this way. If you're having that negative self-talk, is that something that you would be having? Like, would you talk that way to someone else?
Right.
Right. And if you're not going to talk that way to someone else, why the hell would you talk that way to yourself? I mean, stuff like that is super eye-opening and insightful to me. And it's like, wow, that helped me kind of change my mindset. And again, we all still deal with that. It's not like it ever goes away fully. But again, just recognizing, okay, I'm nice to people, or I try to be nice to people, or compassionate. I need to make sure that I'm doing that for myself as well, and not, burning myself out. And that's just super important to recognize and continue to recognize, no matter how old you are, where you are in life, what your job is, what you do, all of those things. Again, everything truly goes back to, in my mind, mental health. And if you're taking care of your mental health, that's going to help you achieve your fullest potential. If you're not taking care of your mental health, then all hell can break loose.
Well, and true too, I hear, like, I'm a big believer, and there's a lot of things you can do to help with that and minimize your risks of anxiety and stuff like that. But I also think if you've got a disorder and you've tried some stuff, I'm a 100% believer in like go see it. Go see your doctor. Talk to them.
Yep.
Again, we've talked about this. Like, go get a second opinion if you need to. If they're trying to put you on something, try things out. But I'm a big believer in like some people just have that chemical disorder. There's not a lot of things you can do. And a full supporter of like going and getting that help, and then, you know, like I think there's again, it used to be a big stigma around that as well. Like I don't, you know, I still hear people going, I don't take any medicine. Like I don't need medicine. It's like there's a reason why we're in the 21st century and like they've developed medicine because that we have the technology and resources to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like I also like, and this is totally like me going ADD on you a little bit, but you ever heard somebody go like, well, they didn't have that 100 years ago? It's like, well, we're not 100 years ago.
Right. We've evolved.
Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And so, I think 100% like just being self-aware enough to know what you're dealing with and trying to be self-aware and making it a conscious effort to do that. And then addressing it as needed, as you see fit. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to address it and to cope with things and to treat your mental health in a way that can benefit. But I think you gotta look outside the box and look for ways to do that. Whether it's food, whether it's exercise, meditation, seeing a therapist, going to your doctor. There's a million ways to do it.
Yep.
But it flows down into every facet of life.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all solution.
Oh, no.
There's so many different avenues that you can take to better your health. And even if something worked in the past and it's not working now, that's all right. You then pivot and you try something different and you kind of document, okay, I tried doing X, Y, and Z, that didn't work, but I did this and this works. So good. Like you're learning what works best for you. And just having an open mind and trying to think about, okay, I'm trying to live a better life. I want to take care of myself like that. What do I need to do those things? And again, you threw out some good examples, whether that's going to a therapist, sometimes you need to go down that route, getting subscribed to actual medication potentially, or sometimes it could be, just eating healthier foods or working out. Again, we don't know your situation. We don't fully know our situation.
No,
like we're dealing with different things too throughout our lives. And again, the whole point that we're trying to make is just recognizing that your mental health, it should be your most valuable thing that you always take care of, and recognizing that there are going to be days or moments in time that aren't always perfect, but please recognize that is just temporary.
Well, I think that's the epitome of this whole conversation. Like the biggest point is that understanding that you can be as mentally sound or unsound. Yeah. But there's still individual moments, and no matter how mentally healthy you are and how great your routine is or how many like things you've got figured out, you're still going to have those times.
Yeah, I don't care who you are, the Pope, Dwayne, Rock, the Johnson, whatever the heck his name is. They all have bad days or moments. Yeah. Again, we're human beings and we're trying to call that out. Like it's all right to recognize that you're not having a great time or a good day. So again, have a good conversation with your loved ones or people that you trust if you're dealing with someone or something that is heavy on your mind or your heart. And if you need to seek professional help, certainly do so. Have those conversations. Again, you know what's best for you, and it's up to you to take the right action to better your mental health. Cole, I say we wrap things up, but this was an awesome conversation.
It was awesome.
It was a deep conversation.
I'm going to throw one last thing out there.
Do it.
Any of our listeners that are going through some stuff, need to vent, need to let loose, one time and one time only. No, I'm kidding. But feel free to reach out. I know I get a lot out of sharing perspective with people that come to me with issues or stresses or situations. And I get a lot out of that. I get a lot out of being able to talk people through that and help them out. So anybody's got something like that from our listeners, from all you millions of listeners, feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram or send us an email at unscriptedexchanges@gmail.com. Love to hear your story and see see what I can do to share some perspective on that.
Yeah, I love that, Cole. And maybe someday soon we can partner with like a Headspace, a Breathwork, or a Calm. I know there's a lot of other companies out there as well, but we are big proponents of taking care of your mental health.
Huge, huge.
Well, guys, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Unscripted Exchanges. Cole and I can't say thank you enough. We are super grateful. And again, we talked about the power of gratitude earlier on. We have some exciting things in the works, so stay tuned, and we will talk to you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.